इसको बंद करना पड़ेगा। Welcome again, friend. First of all, how was the breakfast? And one announcement, sir. Sir, we are sending every time when we make a session in WhatsApp, Google form, and request everyone to please fill up the Google form so that we can arrange facility to our members properly. Today we have seen lot of members are standing. Therefore, I request everyone to please fill up Google form in time. Friends, I hope you all had a refreshing brunch. Let us now regroup for the second and equally important session. We are privileged to have with us a distinguished speaker, Advocate Shashi Bekal, a well in a name well known in the field of taxation and litigation. His in-depth understanding of tax law and practical insights from the field make him an invaluable guide for professionals like us. I request our past convener, CA Mahavir Jain, to give a formal introduction to our speaker.
Thank you, Convener sir. Good morning, friends. Again, it's a pleasure to introduce today's second session speaker, CA as well as Advocate, Mr. Shashi Bekal. His expertise in direct taxes is truly remarkable. Mr. Bekal is a chartered accountant as well as advocate, but practicing as an advocate exclusively in direct taxes and in a government panel council for indirect taxes. He pursued his master's in tax law with scholarship from Jindal Global Law School and a second master's from Maharashtra National Law University. He is also a fellow of the Foundation for International Tax. He has authored more than 40 articles and has contributed to several book publications. His book on taxation of partnership and LLP is the one of bestseller. He has been teaching income tax to law students at SVKM Praveen Gandhi College of Law for last 5 years. He is also on the board of directors of Golconda Diamonds Limited. His latest publication by Taxman is titled Reassessment, Law, Procedure and Practical Guide, which consider amendment up to Finance Act 2024 second. Today, he will be enlightening us on the reopening, or we can say reassessment, under the Income Tax Act. Let's give him a welcome with loud applause. And I request everyone to listen the young and dynamic and very experienced speaker. Before he comes, I request Mr. Mahesh Bagaria ji to present a memento as our appreciation. Thank you, Mahesh ji. No dice is Mr. Bekal.
Thank you. This is audible?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me invited for the second time in a row to the JB Nagar Study Circle. I was privileged to give the same lecture last year as well. This is the second time, and I'm grateful for that. I would like to thank the convener, Mr. Kailash Katarkwa, and the deputy convener, Lalit Bansal, and the coordinators, Mr. Ankush Gupta and Mahavir Jain, for arranging this meeting. A very heartfelt thanks to Mr. Mahesh Bagaria for coordinating with the convener to arrange this. This year, this is the fifth lecture I'm doing in Bombay on the subject of reassessment. I was also grateful and lucky to have a publication, a commentary on reassessment published earlier this year in January with the help of Taxman. With this, we'll start. I just want to inform one thing. Usually my lecture ranges somewhere between 2.5 to 3 hours. I'll be going a little bit faster because I know I have to pack it in 2 hours. So I might overshoot by 10 minutes. I hope that is fine to the class. Okay, before we start, we'll just understand what reassessment is before we dive into the amendments of 24, before we dive into what is the law right now. We understand that reassessment is basically opening the file of an SSC after the period of scrutiny. The normal period of scrutiny is over. After that, there is reassessment. So reassessment is not for the purpose of the SSC in its bare sense. A lot of times people think that if you haven't claimed a certain deduction during in your return of income, you can claim it in a 148 return. That is not true. And the judgment for that is in the Supreme Court decision of Sun Engineering 198 ITR 297. The reassessment proceeding is always for the department. It is never for the SSC. And if you ever understand the concept of checks and balances, if there is powers given to somebody, there are also responsibilities for the same person. Similarly, when powers are given to the income tax department, look, you can reopen beyond the scrutiny period. You can open up to 5 years or you can open up to 10 years. Equally, there are corresponding responsibilities. And the responsibilities which the Income Tax Act puts is in form of fetters. There are conditions which they have to fulfill. Only then can they reopen the file of a particular SSC. And this is to ensure that there is no misuse of power. And Supreme Court in the case of 53 ITR 231 has upheld this. And in 221 ITR 538, it is also explained that each of this fetter has equal weightage. There are fetters like pecuniary jurisdiction, which is the threshold of amount above 50 lakhs, below 50 lakhs. There is time limitations beyond 3 years, within 3 years. There are sanctions which are required when the case is beyond 3 years. A higher authority and within that is wiped out, but at least in the earlier times it used to be there. These are the kind of conditions it needs to fulfill so that it can open a file of a particular SSC beyond the period of scrutiny. The Rajasthan High Court in the case of Bekal has upheld that reassessment is constitutionally valid. Okay. So before we jump into again the amendments and the regime of information which has been in vogue since Finance Act 21, we will just take a snapshot of the GK and drive shaft era, which is reasons to believe. You are all well aware of the reasons to believe regime. Reasons to believe regime was very simple. You got the 148 notice. You got the 148 notice, you file your return of income, you file the return of income, and then you have to request for a copy of the recorded reasons. It is never issued to you automatically. Once you ask for a copy of the recorded reasons, then you get it, you can file your objections. He has to dispose of the objections with a separate speaking order. And after that, you have the choice whether you want to go in writ petition or not, or else you participate in reassessment proceedings. They will issue a 143-2 and the proceedings go on. We'll keep a hold on this. This pertains to the old regime. What happened in 21 is with Finance Act 21, they changed the regime into an information-based regime. The concept of reasons to believe was taken out. We got in a concept of information, which is more concrete than reasons to believe. It is not on the hallucination of an assessing officer. Rather, he should have tangible information in his possession so that he can open the file. What happened over there is in the Finance Act 21 was with effect from 1st April 21. And there is a sweet period from 1st April 21 to 30th June 21, which was the controversial period. Because the Tax Relaxation Act extended the old notifications, which was stuck because of the COVID-induced lockdown. And on the other hand, the Parliament introduced a new law. The whole issue went up to Supreme Court in the famous case of Ashish Agarwal. The Supreme Court invoked Article 142, upheld the validity of the notices, and sent them back for round 2. In round 2, CBDT came up with their own interpretation, interpretation 1 of 2022. The CBDT assumes certain things. 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16 are beyond 3 years. 15, 16, 17, 17, 18 are within 3 years. They published their interpretation of the Ashish Agarwal judgment. Then came round two. Round two, again, everything reached the Supreme Court in the case of Rajiv Bansal. Please understand why I explain Rajiv Bansal is because if you open Taxman also, or you open anything, they will always say Rajiv Bansal in favor of the revenue. But if you read the judgment and apply the judgment, 80% of the decision is in favor of SSC. In the case of Rajiv Bansal, before the Supreme Court, there were 5 issues. 13, 14, 14, 15 after 21, 15, 16 after 21, 16, 17, 17, 18 after 21, and 15, 16 before 21. There was a 5th issue is that if you did not challenge the writ petition in the first round, can the second round of notices still be applicable? That is okay, that SSC lost. What happened here is 15, 16. In the reasons to believe regime, these notices were issued on in the month of March 21. March 21. Now let's do the counting very slowly. 15, 16, 16, 17, 18, 17, 18, 19, 20. The 4-year regime ends on 31st March 2020. 31st March. Tax Relaxation Act protects them from 20th March of 2020. The notice was issued in the next year. So what the SSCs wanted, we were there representing the case of JM Financial in the Supreme Court. We wanted the case to be beyond 4 years. Obviously, lesser fetters. We can always argue true and full disclosure, sanction of higher authority. Government wanted the sanction of the lower authority because according to them, that part of the time is excluded. The order came against us. Bombay High Court, we succeeded. Supreme Court, we lost. So they said, no, it is within 4 years. They said it is within 4 years. Fair enough. Now, why I'm telling you this is because in the market, in fact, in the JM group itself, if you check any 15, 16 issued in March 21, you will yourself find 2 different sanctions taken. किसी में beyond within 4 years sanction लिया है, किसी में beyond 4 years sanction लिया है. So we argued beyond चाहिए, but they won. Now Supreme Court has finally held. Supreme Court is the law of the land. They have held that it is within 4 years. If you go home and your matter must be before CIT appeal, you check. There is a good chance that there are matters of 15, 16 notice issued in March 21 where sanction of higher authority is taken. It exists. It existed in the same group. We explained to the Supreme Court. They did not listen to us, but it exists. So you can say basically 50% of the 15, 16 matters issued in 21 does not exist. Sanction is wrong as per Supreme Court decision. Coming to 13, 14 and 14, 15. That is explained in Rajiv Bansal para 112. The Supreme Court did not accept the SSC's argument, nor did the Supreme Court accept the revenue's argument. The Supreme Court came up with its own interpretation and they got in a concept of surviving period. Surviving period, ये बोलता है कि the 3-month period, April, May, June of 21. Let us take an example notice issued on 27 June 21. What the Supreme Court said is, from that day of the notice till 30th June, whatever time is there, that's called the surviving period. You take that period, 3 days, 4 days, in our case, 28, 29, 30, 33 days. You add it to your response filed consequent to Ashish Agarwal in 22. In 22, when you received the notices after Ashish Agarwal judgment, somewhere in July, June, July, you add those 3 days to your reply, which you filed in 22. उसके बाद अगर 148 आया तो bad in law. With certainty, I can tell you, if your notices are issued in the month of June of 21, there is no way the department finished the proceedings 148 and 148 AD within 30 days. So 50% of the cases again over here, 13, 14, 14, 15 are time barred if you apply Rajiv Bansal, sorry. 15, 16, post 21 is conceded by the government. The ASG in the Supreme Court has said, no, we are wrong. This is clean victory for the SSC. Any 15, 16 notices after 31st March 21, which is April 1st onwards to that sweet period of 30th June, 15, 16 is considered by the government. Bad in law, the government and the Supreme Court has confessed 1516 is bad in law. We don't have to do anything about it. If you have the notices, it's great. 16, 17, 17, 18, the concept was on sanction, whether sanction should be higher authority or lower authority. Again, the interpretation is such that the sanction should have been obtained by 30th June 21, which was not possible because the first proviso to 151 came in Finance Act 23. So if you see there was a full lacuna in the law which could not be plugged in by Supreme Court 2 years later. 16, 17, 17, 18, the sanction obtained is established incorrect. So if you again look at now the sweet period of 3 months, the notice is issued. 13, 14, 14, 15, you apply the concept of surviving period as per the Supreme Court. 50% notices will go out unless your notice is issued in the month of April. 15, 16 considered by the government. 16, 17, 17, 18 is in favor of SSA. It is not possible. So if you read the judgment of Rajiv Agrawal and you apply in your cases, 80% of the cases you will get away with it on the basis of the Supreme Court judgment. Okay, so with this, we'll come to the non-controversial period. So non-controversial period started with the information regime. Yeah. So what the information regime suggested, although in the last 4 years there is some development in jurisprudence, and the jurisprudence will continue to apply to this batch of notices as well, and it will apply in Finance Act 25, Income Tax Act 25, which will come also. The same information regime will apply, although there will be some tweaks in the law. So what the information suggests is that information should be concrete, and the information should be with the assessing officer, and the information should suggest that income has escaped assessment. These are very important terms. There's a celebrated decision of the Delhi High Court in Divya Capital. In this case, the assessing officer came out with a figure. The figure is a 13-digit figure. It runs 1 lakh crores. Was the assessing officer's figure according to the assessing officer that escaped assessment? It had no basis. It was just all transactions recorded by the SSC. Everything they added up. It was 1 lakh crore. It's a 13-digit figure. And the Delhi High Court quashed it. Then there is a decision of the Madhya Pradesh in Nitin Nema. I'll read out the relevant part. It is held by the old section. The words were, if the assessing officer has reasons to believe that any income chargeable to tax has escaped assessment for any assessment year. As against that, in the amended section, the opening words are, if any income chargeable to tax in the case of an SSC has escaped assessment for any assessment year. So what we understand is that the new section doesn't have reasons to believe. In other words, 147 can be invoked only if income chargeable to tax has escaped assessment. Thus, the assessing officer has to be prima facie satisfied that there is an escapement of income. Because in the earlier regime, you could have reasons to believe. If you have a transaction with an accommodation entry provider, it's his reasons to believe that something is murky in this transaction. Now he cannot be murky. Now he needs to have the statement of the entry provider. He needs to have tangible evidence that no, this is a round-tripping transaction. Okay. So on the threshold of 147, we go to the concept of change of opinion. There's a lot of controversy whether change of opinion will still exist or not, because unless there is new tangible material, change of opinion will continue to exist even in the new regime. Even if you read the most celebrated decision of Kelvinator, it is written over there also. Change of opinion is an inbuilt check in the statute. It doesn't have to be expressed by the statute. No authority has the power to review. If it has looked into a file once, applied its mind once, come to a conclusion once, that is it. He cannot take a review. Review, no authority, no quasi-judicial authority has the power of review. Unless he gets some external evidence. So change of opinion continues, and change of opinion has been upheld by the Bombay High Court in the case of Siemens. So in case any of your cases, scrutiny pehle hua, abhi 148 aaya on the same issue, You can always still argue on the concept of change of opinion. It continues. Azim Premji Trust. This is okay. This is not going to apply to the notices which are issued this March. But in case of you have matters pending before the CIT appeal, what this basically says is that when the new regime came into play, it came into play in 21, April 1st, 21. It said 3 years and 10 years. A lot of people felt that it will open 10 years. मतलब 21 में आया तो 11-12 भी खुल जाएगा, 12-13 भी खुल जाएगा. Please understand that can never be the intention of the legislature. Law is always prospective. So when Finance Act 21 came into play, the return filed that year 21-22 का जो आपने return file किया है, that is the first return that would stand the test of 10 years, not returns which are already filed. That is why there was a first proviso to 149. Get it? So when the notices were issued in 22, they always had 1 year which was getting shut one by one. There's 15-16 which was shut in 22. In 31st March 23, 16-17 was the 6th year. Every year, one year was getting shut till you reach 21, and the first batch of 21 is the return filed in 21-22 will stand the test of 10 years. No previous. You cannot make a law in 21 and say, let's assume they said 20 years. ऐसे थोड़ी हो सकता है हम लोग 10-11 का रिटर्न खोलेगा या 8-9 का रिटर्न खुल सकता है. Law is always prospective, and it's a good thing. The amendment was truly prospective because of the first proviso to 149 which was introduced. So I'll explain what happened in Azim Premji. So in the what basically the first proviso to 149 said was that what you cannot open under the old law cannot open under the new law. Prospective amendment. जो पुराने लॉ में नहीं खुल सकता था नए लॉ में भी नहीं खुल सकता. पुराना लॉ 6 साल का था. अगर 6 साल में नहीं खुला तो नए लॉ में भी नहीं खुलेगा. So that was extended by the Karnataka High Court because पुराने लॉ में 6 साल के साथ एक और कंडीशन था. Beyond 4 years and true and full disclosure. That was stretched in Azim Premji and brought into that if it is beyond 4 years, पुराने लॉ में नहीं खुल सकता, नए लॉ में भी नहीं खुलेगा. You can apply, this will not apply anymore, not in the batch which you are getting right now, but this is a good decision. We are still on the fundamentals of 147, that income chargeable to tax or escape assessment. Now, another interesting concept, and whenever I take the lecture, I'm very sure no chartered accountant agrees to this, but we have the law made on this. It is that MAT and reassessment. What this says, earlier there were 3 decisions of Gujarat High Court. Very recently, last year, we got one decision of Bombay High Court. Let us say you file a return. Let us say you are chargeable to tax under MAT. Under MAT, you're chargeable to say, let's say, for the sake of argument, 10 crores. Your tax. Normal provision was 5 crores. And you get a reassessment notice stating that 2 crores ka addition karna hai under one of the provision, not being 60 or 69. Not being 69, 37 disallowance, 2 crores ka. Let us say you're willing to give up the full case. Yes, department, you are right. But wo jodne ke baad bhi, if I'm still under MAT, then where has income escaped assessment? In the fundamentals. For that year, income has not escaped assessment. So there are 3 beautiful earlier decisions of the Bombay High Court. And then very recently we had one of the Bombay High Court. So if you ever get a notice where your client is filing both the, you're computing MAT and this, just give it a check. There is a Bombay High Court decision to protect you. And the reason I say no chartered accountant agrees to this is because there's a concept of MAT credit. MAT credit hill jata hai if you do the addition. But the MAT credit is not in that year. It is in the subsequent year. But what does 147 say? Income chargeable to tax has escaped assessment for that assessment year. So that is why we have 4 decisions right now. Then is the concept of a celebrated decision of Bombay High Court in the case of Jet Airways. Let us say you receive a notice. Okay, and the notice says X item has to be added. X item has escaped assessment. You give your response. You give a detailed response. Then he realizes, no, X barabar X, chhod dete, Y pakadte. They cannot do that. If they want to catch Y, it is very simple. Issue a fresh notice under 148A. So it is basically, and it is there in the first proviso. But if they are catching X, they can go ahead with Y also. That is celebrated. In the future, in CIT appeal, if X you succeed on merits, Y will survive. Y doesn't get quashed because X doesn't go. It is only on the threshold of reassessment. If they have caught you for X and they want to drop X and catch Y item, issue fresh notice. Settled decision of Bombay High Court followed by almost all the other high courts later on. The last one is fine. Does a change in rate of tax amount to information? If you see the earlier provision, there was in 147 written change of rate of tax ke liye, they can always issue 147. Abhi nahi hai. So if you paid 10% tax on something and it's supposed to be 30, they cannot issue a reassessment notice. That is fine. Yeah, please.
Talked about this gender.
Yes.
That democracy using open for particular reason. Now, I filed the return first to 148.
I can't hear you.
First to 148, I filed the return.
Yes.
Declare the income.
Yes.
Pay the tax on it.
Yes.
And this is assistance proceedings getting on the other issue also and.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, because it's not making any addition to time issue.
No, but his reassessment is correct, no?
Sorry.
He caught you correctly, no?
It's
No,
possible.
no, it's possible, yeah.
Other-
Possible, and you will get penalty also.
Yeah.
Okay. With this is where I need all your focus. Earlier, until this year, we had 148A, A, B, C, D. Now they made it 1, 2, 3, 4. There are few changes. We'll address the changes. Well, 148AA used to say that before issuing a 148AB notice, he can do an inquiry. That is wiped out. It's, according to me, not a good thing to do. Because 148A mein inquiry karna tha, you could have allowed roving inquiries. Do your thing. And I will reply. And then if you're satisfied, then go ahead with show cause notice. But now everybody is going to get a show cause notice. So now 148AB is going to correspond to 148, this sorry, A1. So you will all get 148A1. You must have got it before March 31st. Your response will be in 148A2 and the order will be in 148A3. The orders are live happening right now. Maybe you might have received for some of your clients or you'll receive it next week. Before the month end, you will get 148A3 orders and you will get a 148 notice asking to file return. Yeah. And the proviso to 148A, which was ABC, which is pertaining to search and search related cases, is no longer there because search goes in 158 BCBD. 20 साल के बाद उसको जिंदा कर दिया, that regime. And the fourth proviso to 148A, which is a very dangerous provision, which is a faceless collection of information that is existing under as 148A4. So that goes on. Now we go one by one how to reply to a 148A notice. First thing that can happen to you. We have, this is exhaustive. Every possible angle to tackle a 148A notice has been dealt with. There are chances you may not get a 148A notice. There are clients who have not got a 148A notice, and that has been upheld in the case of Nambiar Balakrishna of the Bombay High Court. It's an unreported decision. But if a 148A is not issued in the new regime, not in a search related case, उसमें direct कर सकता है. Yeah, so then it is bad in law. The second is an undelivered or refused to accept notice. This I'm pointing out because in civil suits, sometimes advocates advise their client, भाई अगर notice आया तो accept मत करो, भेज दो वापस. You all must have heard this. Please don't try this in income tax. You get it on your portal, you get it in your email ID, it's a valid notice. Never try this stunt in income tax. If you receive the notice, you cannot refuse to accept notice also. If it has come to your door, you have to take it. Otherwise, he'll stick it on the bulletin board and he will go. So that is also upheld. It's an old decision of 2015. Now comes the decision. Your 148A notice or your 148 notice. 151 में तो था ही पहले से, but I'll just tell you, is unsigned. There is no manual signature or digital signature in your 148A notice. So signing any document is a ministerial act. It is as per law also, you have to digitally or manually sign it. Otherwise, there is no sanction. There is no validity. You can basically throw it in the dustbin. So the Bombay High Court and Prakash Bharadwaj has upheld it. 451 ITR 27. Okay, you'll get the PPT. Now stay with me. The Delhi High Court took a contrary stand. The Delhi High Court and Sumanjit Agarwal said that if you get the notice through email, it doesn't matter if it's signed or not signed. वो इनकम टैक्स ऑफिसर के ईमेल आईडी से आया ना, तो फिर then it doesn't matter. It is his email ID he has sent from his desktop. So even if a notice is unsigned, it is a valid notice. Delhi High Court takes a counter review. Then there is a decision of Sonia Gandhi in 2018. It's 2018. So 2018 mein they said if a notice is unsigned, it is irregularity, not illegality. So that is what the Delhi High Court said. Huh?
Curable.
Curable.
The section of the higher authority who looked at the assessment is unsigned with an unsigned.
I'll come to that. It's very interesting. 151. अभी साइन करने चालू किया ये महीने से, पहले नहीं करते थे. Last 2-3 years नहीं करते थे. Okay. So we're done with signing. Now we'll go on the name of the SSC. Everybody knows this decision. Notice issued in the name of a deceased person. Yeah, most celebrated decision, Maruti Suzuki company has amalgamated. You can't issue a notice in the name of a non-existing company. Notice is bad in law. Rupa Sham, there are probably another 100 judgments like this. Even same law applies to individuals as well. The person is dead, you can't issue a notice. Now PCIT in Supreme Court in Mahagun Realtors. Mahagun Realtors are 22 judgment, which is after Maruti Suzuki. What happened here in the facts are that the company was no longer in existence, but it was hid from the assessing officer. They did not disclose it. They concealed this information. Search हुआ तभी drawer में papers मिला कि company amalgamate हो चुका है. Supreme Court held reassessment valid for a non-existing entity. The reason I tell you this is in Barclays Global Services, they have explained the hairline difference between Maruti Suzuki and Mahagun Realtors. The difference is the honesty of the chartered accountant who has the client. Because a lot of the times CAs come and tell me, "Arey notice आया है, the person is not there, मैं चुप बैठता हूँ, order issue होएगा on the non-existing person's name or the company. Great, order is bad in law. That you cannot do. It is your responsibility if your client is dead to tell the officer that the client is dead and to bring the legal hair on record. It is your responsibility, even though they might have participated in NCLT proceedings, that this company has amalgamated and this is a new company. If you don't disclose this fact to the officer, Supreme Court in Mahagun comes to play against you. This is the reason I'm bringing it out. This is purely on the honesty of the chartered accountant. The company, you disclose everything. You tell them company nahi hai, insan nahi hai, and let them make the mistake and go ahead. Then great. Then every high court will come to help you. There's no high court against this. If you don't disclose, you have malifieds. There will be a problem because there is a subsequent Supreme Court decision against you, which exists.
He is to inform them after the result become time one. After
Huh?
he was smart.
No, आपको नोटिस मिल जाएगा उसके पहले. नोटिस तो हाथ में आ जाएगा.
They send the notice at the back end of the period.
Correct.
Right.
हाँ.
So we inform, don't be in a hurry to inform it. Wait for some.
So in today's regime, if you get it in March, you have 3 months to respond. तो जून के एंड में रिस्पॉन्ड कर दो. हाँ. अगर वो 5 साल में निकल गया तो निकल गया. But the right way is, but then he cannot issue fresh notice, no then. So then he will then they'll play with Mahagun again. They'll play with Mahagun again.
But if it is received in the back end of the March,
If the company amalgam, if the person is deceased 5 years ago, and you
for me today, but he came to me, you know, the legal head came to me later on.
I emphasized on the honesty of the chartered accountant. Huh?
Come to me, the legal head come to me.
Because yes, if they die in the middle of the year, first half is legal representatives return of return. After that is executors return of return. I'll come to that.
Period pertains to the one where the legal head was alive.
Yes. That year also you have to intimate, no? Why legal heir is filing, legal representative is filing return 159. So the last decision here is CLSA India. CLSA India was on the concept whether if the person is deceased or the entity does not exist, whether existence of PAN amounts to existence of entity. And it is no. PAN you can still keep because you might be refunds which are due to you. There might be litigations. PAN rakh sakta hai. PAN does not mean the entity is alive. Okay. Now, jurisdiction of the assessing officer. Great concept. Jurisdiction has to be seen at the time of issuance of notice. Okay, stay with me. This is a little bit complex. It doesn't matter where you file your return and when you file your return. What matters is who issues the notice and when they issue the notice. What happened in MI Builders? It's an Allahabad High Court decision. The company or firm had its address somewhere in Lucknow Range 1. Within the 4 to 6 years period which reassessment ho sakta tha, reasons to believe me, it switched. It did all the necessary formalities. Its range was now range 4. At the time of issuance of notice, although when I filed my return of income, I was with range 1. Range 1 cannot issue a notice today. It has to be with range 4. So you can still challenge this, and I'll come to this how interesting it gets. Allahabad High Court has held that no, today you are in range 4, file has been transferred to range 4, so ACIT or JCIT range 4 can only issue the notice. This is simple. Now comes the case of Pawan Moraka, Bombay High Court. Pawan Moraka's case was, he filed his return, I believe it's 1213, set for scrutiny, went to CIT, went to ITT, went to High Court, went to Supreme Court on some issue of deemed dividend. He was continuously litigating. He filed his return in Delhi. Within the period of 6 years, he moved to Bombay. Okay, he's now Bombay. He's done the necessary formalities with the PAN, everything. The Delhi authority issues a 148. He replies, look, I'm in Bombay. Then the Bombay officer continues. And he says, look, now you're time barred. Like what you said, sir, time ho gaya. Then they said, no, we are continuing the same notice now from here. That case was taken to Bombay High Court, thrashed out, absolutely not possible. Once the necessary formalities are done, you come to Bombay, they can't issue the notice. In the decision of Ardent Steel, that's only for reference, they have mentioned that. Can someone unlock this? Yes. In the case of Ardent Steel, they actually mention the conditions. Basically, Ardent Steel bolta hai ki the address is changed by the SSC, it is changed in the official records, and it's changed in the PAN database. You do these 2-3 things, it's sufficient. Now, another beautiful decision of Prashant Chandra, Allahabad High Court. Allahabad is a very strong High Court. What happened in Prashant Chandra is that it was a lawyer. He filed his return in Lucknow. And then he went to Delhi. He did all necessary formalities. That his address is now in Delhi. He is working in Delhi. And last return also is in Delhi. They issued 148 notice. He contested in Allahabad. He won, stating that, but the officer was not willing to accept that he is wrong. Officer continued with the reassessment proceedings. The officer was sentenced to jail. 1 week imprisonment for contempt of court. In the order, it is clearly written that just by imposing a fine, you will not learn. We are putting you in imprisonment for 1 week. So I think the officer's name, that CIT he was in prison for 1 week. Then there's a case of Nimir Kishore Mehta. As I said, Allahabad is a very strong court, it's a very big high court. They can take, please. Yeah.
You say many things against the ITOs.
Yes.
Say that you file a contempt petition despite our orders, they're not obeying it. But the assessing are saying what? We know the other events that if we file something.
Correct.
That is why people are.
We should not, always.
Sriram was very bold in that.
Yes.
Still,
Now he's in Rajasthan,
fine.
but transferred.
Maybe movies to Supreme Court in this.
No, he's retiring in September. We keep a watch on who's moving, who's not moving. September tak nahi hoega ticket. We'll see. We hope he reaches the Supreme Court. Now, Nimir Kishore Mehta, please pay attention. Nimir Kishore Mehta, 1617 was the assessment year. This petition was drafted by me. We represented in the High Court. 1617 was the year which was reopened in March 23, which was the 6th year under the new regime. 1617, when Mr. Mehta filed his return, he was a resident. 1718, he was non-resident. 1819, non-resident. 1920, non-resident till 22-23, that year in which notice is issued, he is non-resident. Notice came from jurisdictional officer. We challenged it in the High Court. We succeeded. Now, why I bring this case out is because the beauty of this case law, although it's a reported judgment, the beauty of this case law was the submission made by the chartered accountant. The chartered accountant, in response to 148B, took the objection that you are not the assessing officer and international tax board should have the charge. And to that objection taken, the department was clean bold. The department in the order in 148D has categorically written, look, at the fact moment you are telling me this, now I don't have any time, I am proceeding with reassessment. And this is what we read out in the High Court as well. So what I'm saying is the quality of submissions of the chartered accountant is very important. Otherwise, we can't pull a rabbit out of the hat in the High Court unless the submissions are really strong before the officer. And you'll be happy to know the chartered accountant who made the submissions is from JB Nagar Study Circle. Please.
Refer to the same judgment, there is 148A is guilty.
Now to 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, I'm talking about that particular. What had happened was that there were three, first 1 year was below, but the assessment 1890, international taxation. Did the assessment, completed the assessment, everything was over. During the course of assessment proceeding, 1789 and 1920 were opened by the jurisdictional officer. What will you set up? The EU should 148A.
The year in which notice is issued, check his jurisdiction.
It was the photo, it was, but he was a non-resident.
Then they cannot issue.
He had issued the order 148A. When he came to know that he's not in his jurisdiction, he transferred the file to the international taxation. And 148A was issued from the international taxation. The question is that
148A,
B,
B was issued from international taxation.
but A was issued by jurisdictional officer.
A तो inquiry है ना.
Proceeding is initiated by officer.
You can argue, but it's not a show cause notice. You are not on a very strong ground.
Okay, it's basic. It is a indictment.
Now, yes, sir, part of the proceedings. Because such the proceeding starts with 148A. Initially, your proceedings were doing by 148A. Now, when the proceeding initially is back in law. It is subsequent.
He is not initiated. The proceedings will initiate with A, B only.
No, but he is part of the proceeding.
I appreciate what you are saying, but
He is part. Without.
आपका A is not even mandatory. It is if it is, he wants to do it, he will do. It is again at the option of the assessing officer. It is. He has to take sanction before A. पहले तो sanction 10 फिर sanction cut किया हम लोग ने amendment में 22 या 23 में. Taken. You can try contesting. There's no harm in contesting. Contesting is you can take 10 grounds. जितना तो एक ही round पे. Nimir Kishore Mehta, if you have resident clients who become non-residents later on, and the same officer is issuing a notice, at the time of issuance of notice, you have to check jurisdiction.
So how do you check like the client should inform the ITO? In my case, one of my clients is actually a non-resident, but we have been filing the returns as a non-resident. She was issued 148A
From?
from the jurisdictional officer. So
This is the case law for you.
So, but we haven't made any special, like, she was filing the return as a non-resident for.
Proper, no? So she done her part right on, correct only.
But, the 148 AD, order for the action was issued by the jurisdiction officer.
Beg your pardon?
The order for the so called was issued by the jurisdiction officer.
No, he cannot. No. In fact, if you read the judgment or 1 second, I'll just tell you if I have it in front of me. There is a letter of September 19, 2012. Okay, it's not there on my slide. Where in terms of transferring from normal ward to international ward, it is not my job.
So right now,
It is his job.
So right now, when they have issued the notice of 143 and 142,
See, there is also one section called section 124. Section 124, correct me if I'm wrong, which says that if you don't challenge jurisdiction within 30 days, no, then you can't, then it is basically conceded to the jurisdiction. Jurisdiction has to be challenged within 30 days. 129? 129. 127 is the order for transfer. And assumption of jurisdiction 129. Next is insolvency proceedings. Notice basically the fundamentals in Ghanshyam Mishra, which is a celebrated judgment, is that clean slate principle. If your company goes to NCLT, NCLT से कोई खरीद लेता है, he buys it with a clean slate. All पुराना income tax department, all notices, everything is done. हाँ, सब गया, सब खत्म. You cannot reopen. It's all done. They can go against the erstwhile management. Erstwhile management. So there is absolutely no two ways about this judgment. Bombay High Court has upheld in Alok Industries. I'll just read it. Delhi High Court has upheld it in Aero Fever. Gujarat High Court has upheld in Maruti Kotosu Cylinders. Madras High Court has also upheld it in Dishnet. It's very simple. Anything picked up from NCLT, the clean slate principle applies. Not just for income tax department, for debtors, creditors, सबके लिए applicable है. जिसने claim नहीं किया, claim गया हाथ से. Now, extending those principles to liquidation, dissolution, partition, there is a possibility that your company is struck off. It's not insolvent and it's not non-existent. It's only struck off. In that also, it's come in favor of the SSC in Pandian Anbalgam versus ITO 1656 taxman.com 402, wherein they held that the right course available for the revenue was to approach the NCLT in terms of section 252 of the Companies Act and rules 11 and 87 of Company Law Tribunal and revive the company and then issue the notice. Company struck off, 148 is bad in law. They have to go do the work, they have to revive the company, then they can do reassessment proceedings. Similarly, in NRP projects is not even a company. NRP is conversion of a firm to private limited company. तो उसमें भी अगर एक firm था वो convert हो गया, the firm becomes non-existent. Same principle of Maruti Suzuki continues. Again, you have to explain, you have to be honest, no problem, then it's okay. And this is one of my favorite concepts, is the pecuniary jurisdiction. Okay. You see, a lot of people do not know this, but there is an instruction 1 of 2011 dated 31st March 2011. It's on the screen. So in case of metropolitan cities, it's here. They tell you who can have the jurisdiction. ITO can have corporate returns only up to 30 lakhs total income. Beyond 30 lakhs, it has to go to ACDC. Similarly, non-corporate returns up to ITO is only 20 lakhs and above has to go to ACDC. What happens is, and this we have found in a lot of our cases, and this has been upheld by the Bombay High Court in Ashok Devichan Jain. किसी ने return file किया, तभी उसका first job लगा रहेगा. He must be earning 15 lakhs. 5 years later, when his case is being reopened, his income must have increased to 35 lakhs. Again, applying the principles that jurisdiction has to be checked at the time of issuance of notice. जिस साल अभी 24-25 मार्च 25 मेरा इस साल का रिटर्न वो देखना चाहिए, मैं नहीं देखना चाहिए, वो खुद देखना चाहिए, and he should keep my file accordingly. So if when I filed my return, let's say for 1920 and the SSC's income was 15 lakhs, fair enough, that year you want to do scrutiny, ITO could have done scrutiny. Now in 24-25 my income is about 20 lakhs, then ACDC should issue the notice. There is heavy lapses which happen over here. A lot of them still hold on to the file. A lot of them don't change the file, don't transfer the files. But again, you have to take the objection within 30 days. Then you're good.
Take the same amount before, but for the notices,
Scrutiny. Of course. This is the jurisdiction of the officer. आपको 143 तो faceless से आने वाला है. तो
For non-residents,
हाँ?
what is it?
Non?
If the SSC is
Non-resident, yes.
Okay.
So we have often found that this is very prevalent in Bombay because 5 years में the income तो 20 लाख से ऊपर चले जाते सबका. Please note, and it is upheld by the Bombay High Court. Everything I'm saying is back. हाँ?
नीचे का non-resident income और इसी ने issue किया.
कर दिया. You can argue the reverse also, but reverse also. And just to let you know, if you have a loss of 1 crore, तो आप दूसरे कैटेगरी में आओगे, not negative, absolute sense में. Yeah. Or whether inquiry under 148A is mandatory or discretionary, this is not applicable now, which you had asked. It is actually discretionary. And less than 7 days is also gone. Now you have flat 3 months. March में notice आता है, 3 महीना दिया, अप्रैल मई जून, जून के बाद जून में एंड में ऑर्डर पास होता है. This is also gone. This is before September 2021. Service of notice through email. There's a Bombay High Court decision of load developers. For this judgment says on the portal, if you mention a primary email ID and a secondary email ID, and the officer chooses to send the notice to the secondary email ID, it is bad. Even if I receive it, it's bad. Because I have given you my primary email ID. Issue it on the primary email ID. It's not at your discretion.
The email ID holder says that I'm not being using it.
Then you can come with an affidavit. No, it is a valid thing. Yeah.
Then I'm not different. Because I'm giving the email ID just for the same government.
Please note again, there's a decision of the Jharkhand High Court. The Jharkhand High Court, the SSC was a non-filer of return for that particular year. So then it is held that if you're a non-filer of return, whichever email ID the officer gets, it is valid. Please, sir.
SSC, I don't have this email ID and phone number on the profile. And he is getting a notice on his portal.
He's getting on the portal. Portal पे आता है ना?
Portal पे ये registered ही नहीं किया है. These are not portal file.
File an affidavit. Set aside remand होएगा. What else? It's a natural justice violation, no? And you are being honest. If you are honestly you've not received it, there is no other recourse. अभी क्या कर सकता है? You can't say it's bad in law. You have also not represented. It's all come. They have done their job properly. In the appellate proceedings or in the High Court, if you file an affidavit, they'll remand it back.
Can you find one ID?
Yes.
But the portal is different than the email ID. So which is the correct email ID on
The portal email ID is the correct one.
of the, right? Portal. You also have to do that.
Then comes the concept of DIN. CBDT Circular 19 of 2019, where they brought in documentation, indexation, identification number. It said every correspondence should have a DIN. First decision was Brandeis Mauritius Delhi High Court. Supreme Court has stayed the operations of the order. Bombay High Court was in its written enterprise, Ashok Commercial Enterprises, which said that any correspondence should have a DIN. Even internal correspondence should have a DIN. In fact, I remember in one of the lectures, I think the All India Federation had organized, the finance minister was there, and she said that if there is no DIN, please throw it in the dustbin. Her words, not mine. Supreme Court, when the matter came for hearing in open court, although this has no sanctity, you can only read it in the news, said that again the same dialogue. It is only irregularity, not illegality. Same exact words, what it said for Sonia Gandhi. The Delhi High Court. So right now we are on the balance. Supreme Court will decide the fate of non-DIN cases. In Hexaware Technologies, the issue of DIN was again analyzed. DIN cannot be issued subsequently either. If today I received a notice on 28th of March without a DIN, tomorrow 29th they cannot give me a DIN. It has to come together. What?
It was irregular.
Let us see, we'll know when the Supreme Court order comes.
There is a circular that if the deed cannot be issued because of some technical glitch.
Same.
There is a process that
Same.
he has to follow.
Yeah, same. This one only. CBDT Circular 19 of 2019. Usme he has to take sanction of 2 CCITs and then do. And there are conditions also in which bucket you have to fall where there is non-issuance of DIN. Please.
What is without deed? What is the status as on now? What is the status now?
Notice without DIN.
Yes.
Today, as we speak, you are covered by Bombay High Court.
We take that off.
The officer, if the officer is a sensible officer, he will pass the order in your favor, but say subject to the Bombay High Court, the Supreme Court decision. They will file appeal continuously, and when Supreme Court comes, that order will be reversed. Or else they will pass the order against you and stating that no recovery to be made or no action to be taken in the demand. Of assessing officer will pass it against you. Commissioner will allow you, but keep the issue alive. They will keep the issue alive. Excuse me. Non-issuance of real-time alert. Okay, this is again something which is important for chartered accountants. There's a CBDT notification of 4 of 2017. It talks about real-time alert and communication. Why I'm telling you this is when the whole faceless regime started, a lot of CAs used to come to us and they used to say, notice aaya portal pe malum nahi pada. And then we also did not have a proper response at that time. And we used to say, no, you have to check. But how is it possible? Every CA has 500 clients, 1,000 clients. It's not humanly possible to check the portal for each and every client and say, usko notice aaya ki nahi. And that has finally been upheld in Delhi High Court. It said that there has to be a real-time alert, which is in the form of an SMS or an email which says, ting, you will get the message saying that go check your portal. Till you don't receive it, you're not under an obligation to go check your 500 clients portal and say, isko notice, I guess, notice, I can notice. It's humanly not possible. And it was upheld in Sumanjit Agarwal that if there is no real-time alert, the notice will be quashed and set aside. And it's also said that, or else, as and when the SSC sees it, that should be construed as the date of the notice. So it's a very good judgment. You are not in the wrong if the real-time alert is, and I don't think there is a good amount of lapses in terms of real-time alert. I don't think every chart accountant or every SSC is getting a real-time alert. शायद email पे आता रहेगा.
One case now, and the RTI, the ITO, when you are saying the assets are. Okay, you will not do any impact so much.
Affidavit बना दो ना. No real-time alert has come to me in my SMS. Affidavit, because there is no other way for you to do it. You have put the RTI, he's not replying. There is honest, genuine affidavit is under oath. Under oath, you say that I have not received SMS or I have not have received email stating asking me to go to the portal, so I did not check the portal.
There is the application with RTI. RTI is kind of information language. I give you order. Thank you. Clarify.
Go ahead.
Application. I have made application. I just want to say.
Okay. Non-consideration of reply. This still happens. I have a live notice right now. You filed a reply. Order may it is stating that SSC has not filed reply, or order may it is stating that not considering a reply anywhere. Okay. That is bad in law. It cannot work. It has been upheld by the Madras High Court as well as the Madhya Pradesh High Court. Without considering a reply, it is bad in law. Now, what I'm saying is mechanically considering the reply. This was in vogue in the last 2 years. The 148D order or 148.3 order today, whatever we call it, the order will talk about the information. SSC has filed its reply, but we do not find it tenable. That is it, 3 lines. Or we do not find it, we're not considering it. So CBDT in its guidelines of 2022 themselves have said that you cannot pass orders mechanically. You have to pass a speaking order. A speaking order means you have to deal with my contentions, my objections, my case laws. Everything has to be dealt with and then pass a speaking order. And this has been upheld by the Delhi High Court in the unreported decision of Upender Vanchu. Now please note over here, there is a decision of Rajasthan High Court in Parmesh Yadav. What happened in Parmesh Yadav was that he went to the High Court stating that, hey, my submission is not considered. What happened is that he traded in crypto and he did not file his crypto ledger. So although the order is mechanically considered, the order of the High Court is against him. Because you come to the High Court with unclean hands. There's a doctrine of unclean hands. You have to be honest when you're coming to the High Court and you have to put all the facts on record. When the officer actually asked for the crypto ledger, he did not. He might have taken very good objections on other points, but the order has gone against him. The same High Court, few months later, in RK Bill Creations, takes a different stand stating that if it is mechanically considered, it is bad in law, remand back to the assessing officer. The point I'm trying to make here, when bad facts reach the higher authorities, bad decisions come out. And this is not just in reassessment. You can consider the case of Apex Laboratories Supreme Court, the whole freebies given to doctors. There was gold which was distributed to doctors. In cases like that, if you distribute gold and all to doctors, Supreme Court is not going to come in your favor to come and save the SSC. Similarly, in the case of Mansoor dying, if capital introduced in the partnership firm was 20 lakhs and in 2 years you exit with some 20 crores, nobody will come and save you. Maybe the lower authorities, but the Supreme Court will never take a view in your favor. So what I'm trying to tell you is when bad facts reach higher authorities, we get bad decisions. And there's nothing you can do about it. live over here. Firstly, it was crypto, something that not everybody looks at in good light. Second is the dishonesty of the SSC. So we have a decision which is against the SSC. Ex parte order is not permissible. If you do not respond to the 148A notice, you cannot get an order which is saying, hey, SSC has not replied to the notice, therefore it's a fit case for reassessment. वो नहीं कर सकता. Whatever information he has to still explain it and then come to the conclusion. Just because I did not reply doesn't mean the notice is valid. There is a Calcutta High Court in GSP pilling, and it's also explained in the guidelines. A speaking order means a reasonable order. My non-compliance doesn't mean it's a fit case. Factually incorrect information. Now, this is very interesting. Bombay High Court was always there. If you consider purchase ko sale, sale ko purchase, 50C ke badle mein 56,210 laga dete hai. All that is there. That is now what happened is a celebrated decision. Before this, there were CBDT guidelines of August 1, 2022, wherein it said the whole thing of speaking order pass karna and all those things that I mentioned. Then there was a decision of SR Cold Storage 10 days later, August 11th. SR Cold Storage mein ye hua, they issued a notice stating that, hey, you've deposited money in Bank of Baroda. SSC replied stating that, look, I don't have an account of Bank of Baroda. My account is Union Bank. Officer passed order stating that fit case for reassessment. Matter taken to the High Court. Matter was not just taken to the High Court because of not dealing with the objection. Cost of 50 lakhs was imposed on the department. The union government was asked to give a response why such a thing has happened. And this is August 11. Please note, August 22, within 11 days, an extension of the earlier circular was issued by the Ministry of Finance, wherein they state that on account of human error and other possibilities, information can be incorrect. Why I'm emphasizing on this is because CBDT themselves has admitted that the information in their possession can be wrong. CBDT has said it in this circular of 2020, guidelines of August 22, 2022. They are admitting. So which means they are themselves saying that what we have in our possession, whatever we get filtered down, is not necessarily the cornerstone. It's not necessarily foolproof. We can be wrong. हाथ उठा दिया CBDT ने. Then that has been followed by the Bombay High Court in DG Electronics and Excel Commodities. So this circular still stays.
Information when I directed the investigation, I was 136 summons. The inquiry was conducted by 136. The report was sent to the assistant officer.
Direct 148.
Show was deemed escape.
Deemed.
Deemed escape.
135A. Faceless collection of information. Direct.
If it's from DDI, then they issue 148. If it's from ICI,
Yes.
that falls in 135.
That falls in 135. You got it from DGID investigation.
Yes.
Huh.
Waiting investigation,
Huh.
give the reply or documents submitted,
Huh.
they are not satisfied, so
Huh.
they made a report, send it to the assessing officer, and on that basis, the issuer show cause notice.
Huh.
Then the information given by the direct investigation is wrong, it is given to the assessing officer.
Even to the assessing officer.
Yeah.
Okay.
The transaction which is.
You can rely on this circular. We'll have to go a little bit faster. Yeah. Is it the duty of the assessing officer to provide all information? Abhi to hai hi, abhi to section ke andar hi aa gaya. They have to provide all the information. There is a case of Anurag Gupta, Bombay High Court. If you don't provide something, please ask. If especially they say based on some GST raid conducted over there, we think your assessing has done something wrong. Ask for the report of the GST officer. You are entitled to ask for everything. Duty of the assessing officer to provide copy of a statement and opportunity to cross-examine. There are 3 Calcutta High Court decisions which says that before passing 148A order, cross has to be given. With all due respect, I divert from the decision. Like in my humble submission, when I'll tell you why. एक तो cross के लिए कोई आता नहीं कभी. आता नहीं. Now, if you take an example of, let's not even take an example of a good builder or something. Let's take an example of an entry provider. Once an entry provider is raided, कम से कम 10 company तो खुलता है. 10 कंपनी का 10 साल खुलता है और समझो एक कंपनी ने एक साल में 10 एंट्री भी दिया, 10,000 एंट्रीज, सब लोग क्रॉस के लिए पूछेगा वो एंट्री प्रोवाइडर कब आएगा। 1000 क्रॉसेस विद इन 3 months। ही इज हैविंग बिगर थिंग्स इन हिज लाइफ। ईडी पीछे पड़ा है, एसएफआईओ पीछे पड़ा है, सीबीआई पीछे पड़ा है, and at that time if you ask for cross there's no way within 3 months, but there are 3 Calcutta High Court decisions, so you should rely on it. But I believe practically it is never possible for that person to reach. Even if the person is next door also, they don't show up for cross examination. So forget, and here they're saying within the 3 months before passing the 148A order, cross ke liye aana chahiye. It exists. Can yes, yes, yes. Cross was denied. या आया नहीं पार्टी। सुप्रीम कोर्ट, अंडमान टिम्बर, और आपको क्या चाहिए? किशन चंद चल्लारा 125 ITR, celebrated decisions. Can the SSC be asked to prove a negative fact? Asaram Reddy, this is what I said. If they tell you you have an account in Bank of Baroda, well, I cannot prove that I don't have an account in Bank of Baroda. उल्टा तो मैं प्रूव कर ही नहीं सकता. I can say that I don't have a bank account. You have to believe it. I cannot prove the negative. This exists. Can a notice under 148A be issued in search and search related cases? The answer is no, because there is a proviso which says that direct 148 करना चाहिए. Can the SSC assessing officer improve the information? This is quite evident. It happens more than you think. Celebrated decision in the old regime also, Hindustan Liver, that they cannot improve even in form of affidavit before the High Court. Nothing can be done. Now I'll give an example what happened to my client. There was a young gentleman in the US. He purchased a house somewhere in South Bombay. So he's not filing returns over here. He's an NRI. I think he must be filing, but no income. So he got a notice for 69 undisclosed asset. So we said entire funds has come from his father, who's also an NRI. Father's from UK, net worth is more than 50 crores. And he is also, some funds which have come from him are gift from his father. In the order, it is written that, oh, SSC has shown no document to prove that this gentleman is his father. The heights from 69, 68 edition, which we were contesting, and then once we prove the genuineness of the funds, they are stating that हमने बाप ने बताया. And then we took it to DRP because it was a non-resident. We had the 144C option, and there we aggressively argued before DRP, and the DRP shut it off. But yeah, so what I'm saying is, if they ask you about X and then you are explaining the whole Jet Airways fundamentals only, if they're not satisfied, they cannot turn around. अगर तुम्हें 50C में एडिशन नहीं करना, तुम 56 में नहीं आ सकते. मालूम पड़ा एक्चुअली सेलर नहीं तो बायर है, then they cannot immediately change the section also. You caught me as a seller, you treat me as a seller. Follow the issue of fresh notice. Does the assessing officer has to consider well-settled case laws while passing an order? This is on jurisprudence. There is a good decision of Matthew Cherian which says that अगर कोई settled judgment है, समझो अगर आपको 148 का notice आया है, and factually you have nothing to reply, but legally you have big things to reply. This decision, that decision. So settled decisions have to be considered. Even if it's not a factual issue against the information, some settled decisions. I'll give an example. Opening balance. समझो आपको 4th year में notice आता है, which is beyond 3 years, और कहता है कि 70 lakhs का accommodation entry हुआ है. 70 lakhs में समझो 40 lakhs is opening balance. And Bombay High Court has held that opening balance can never be added in 68. उस साल का credits only can be added. Ivan Singh, Bombay High Court 2020 decision. So you can always consider Ivan Singh, which is settled decision कि opening balance will never be considered, and by considering that my entry, मान ले entry है, it's a round tripping transaction, it is coming down to only 30-40 lakhs, then it's below 50 lakhs, then you cannot reopen. That is what it's saying basically. Can an order passed under 148A be rectified? The answer is no. This matter traveled to the Supreme Court. Punjab and Haryana dismissed SSC's petition stating that, oh, there are other reliefs available, you can rectify it. Supreme Court said no, you can, writ is maintainable. Can an order passed under 148A be revised? The answer is no, it is not within the purview of 263. Can an appeal be filed against a 148A order? The answer is again no. 246A clearly spells out appealable order before CIT appeal. This doesn't form non-application of mind by the assessing officer by passing a 148 order. This does not have to be spelled out. Every High Court has a decision. So does Bombay High Court. If order is passed without applying its mind, purchase ko sale, sales ko purchase, without thinking, without dealing with my contention, you can always challenge. Physical response submitted by an SSC in response to a show cause notice. It is not necessary because you get the 140 from Jao. No, you know his address, you know his email ID. You can either reply on the portal, you can either reply on email, or you can just go and give it on the Thapal also. There is no harm. You have his address given to you. Why not? Yeah. A Delhi High Court decision in Prem Chopra. What happened is they issued notices for 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, 2, 3 years. Identical notices for the identical transaction. 1 year they drop, 1 year they go forward. So it was challenged. How can you not apply your mind? If you've taken one stand here, you cannot blow hot and cold, yeah, at the same time. Similarly, in gay travels, Madras High Court, they issue a notice for a particular year, somehow 2021, they drop it on merits. Next year, he changes his mind, basically clear case of change of opinion, not in the assessment order, in the 140 order. Again, he issues the same notice, he cannot do that. Now coming to the issue of 135A, which comes as 148A4, which is a dangerous provision because the safeguards given to you, that is show cause notice आएगा, आप reply करोगे, reply consider करोगे, वो सब क्या है? Now there is a scheme under 135A, it's 137 of 2021. The scheme is extremely complicated, where the information goes from e-verification to system, system to SSC. SSC को एक opportunity दिया जाता है कि reply करना है कर लो भाई. वो आप reply को लेके risk management strategy के अंदर डालते हैं. They come out with first round a preliminary verification report. Then they again put it in the system and get a final verification report. After they have applied all their mind, government intelligence, and then they issue a direct 148. No safeguards given to you, no show cause notice given to you. You get a direct 148. You have to start playing. Go file your return.
Case where in the case of a non-resident, 135A, using the 135A, 148 notice was issued. But the TDS deducted for non-resident under section 195 was sufficient enough to take care of the taxes that would have other that would have been collected. And in fact, when I'm preparing the return, there is a refund which is speaking of the. Would they have issued the 148 notice?
No income has escaped assessment.
Huh?
No income has escaped assessment.
So
Threshold, fundamentals of 147.
So that information on TDS visa with income both were available with the INC.
Yeah, information must be valid, but no income has escaped assessment. You can contest, but you will win.
But I will have to find the return first of all.
Yeah, no harm. Always comply. Always do your thing with the utmost clarity. So there are no case laws as such in 135A or 148. और एक नॉन एप्लीकेशन ऑफ माइंड का बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट डिसीजन है इन मिस्टर बेनाफिर विप्सी पटेल, but that's fine. So by reading the scheme, the three contentions that I could think about, अगर आपको आया, you have to invent something. No, somebody has to invent something someday. One is you get the 148 directly. It says notice issued based on PVR, preliminary verification report. But the scheme says the notice should be issued on final verification report. Maybe tomorrow, if you read very carefully and you find this thing out, so it's a challenge. It's a valid challenge. Second is that this is a constitutional challenge. You cannot challenge it before the office or something. Unreasonable classification of information. There is no reason to make it deemed. It comes under the definition of information along with all the other things, risk management strategy, CAG report, DTAA. So why are you unreasonably classifying? This is a constitutional challenge. The third I can think of is that there is an FAQ issued by the CBDT. FAQ का कोई date वेट कुछ भी नहीं है. FAQ में question number 14 और 15 में ये लिखा जाता है. They will issue you a 133.6. You give a response. They will tell you the response is not happy, and they will also tell you kindly go update your return. भाई we are not happy, you update your return. नहीं तो इसलिए मोले का धमकी. They tell you नहीं तो 148. That's the language. You either update your return or we'll do 143.2 or 148. That's the language in the FAQ as well. The most polite धमकी you can give. So update नहीं करे तो उनको तो tax मिलेगा ना. तो that is the last thing. No, update कर ले वरना reassessment. That is how the FAQ is worded also in a very simple sense. Now, what if they don't give that thing to you, that we are not satisfied with your response? Again, this is not an instruction, not a circular, not a notification, just an FAQ released, whether it's binding on the officer also. But yeah, since we are inventing contentions over here, we are at no contention. I decided to come up with this. So not adhering to the FAQ of the e-verification scheme. Because if I have replied to it, he should say no, that is not satisfied. You can try. I'm saying I don't have a case law for this. You can try.
It is normally issued by assessment. The word is assessing officer, right?
Mm,
135A.
yeah.
What happens is the assessing officer issue is no. Under the scheme.
Okay.
It's not the assessing officer as such. So whether that can be considered.
I think 133(6) allows any assessing officer.
Any. Only assessing, including assessing officer.
No, any office.
But that is 16. Can be.
Okay, so now you have replied 140 days over, D order is passed, we've dealt with all the contention, now you get a 140-day order के साथ 148 along with it to asking you to file your return. Most of the provision stays as it is, some of the explanations have been removed. Whatever went in search, they have removed after 24. Okay. Time limit to file return. So now earlier it was 90 days, now it is at the discretion of the assessing officer to give you time to file return. I had attended the BCA budget lecture when it had happened. So it was pointed out that that might lead to controversies. What if the officer gives you 1 week, 7 days? Can you file an adjournment? These controversies exist. It will be tackled in times to come. Again, 148 में DIN. This time we are looking at DIN from a different perspective. There are decisions of Kerala, Jharkhand, and Madras wherein DIN was not there and the proceedings have been upheld by the high courts. If you don't file the return of income, surely you are welcoming penalty and prosecution. Consequence of disclosing higher income in return of income. Higher income in the return of income. So if your income was 100, 148 आया, आपने 120 disclose किया, वो 20 पे penalty लगेगा. It comes under deemed underreporting. So that you can be sure of. Risk management strategy. A lot of people say that they don't know what is risk management strategy and you cannot find where risk management strategy is written. There's actually an instruction of December 10, 2021. You'll have to search for it, where they have loosely worded risk management strategy. It is widely worded. It includes everything, government agencies, it includes internal audit, it includes income tax authorities, includes search, survey, FTNTR, NCLT, cases in metropolitan cities exceeding 25 lakhs, transfer pricing issues of 10 crores. So it is there. It is not that they have kept this term a secret. It is there in some corner of some instruction, that is 10 of 21. Audit objection as information. This is very interesting. Audit objection. We all remember there was a Supreme Court decision in Indian Eastern Newspaper Society 1979 decision कि internal audit objection पे reassessment नहीं कर सकता था. The fundamental was that the reason to believe was not of the officer, someone else. Supreme Court का internal audit अगर objection आया तो reassessment नहीं होता था. Now what has happened is they've changed it. Now the wordings are final objection raised by the wordings are in the new case is that audit objection stating that assessment is not in accordance with law for the purpose of assessment. So now the point is not in accordance with law. Just stay with me for like 2 minutes here. आपका assessment हो चुका है इसमें. Assessment order is not in accordance with law. Then they issue 148 on the same issue. You cannot say change of opinion. Obviously, audit objection is a change of opinion. Obviously, what the assessment order was passed, the audit team is not happy with it. So when your reassessment is based on internal audit or audit objection, it is an obvious case of change of opinion by a third person. So what do you do in this case? The whole catch point is, and there is a case of Kerala High Court stating that obviously Because वो issue पे they feel the assessment order is bad. That is why they're doing a reassessment. It's kind of a revision under 263, erroneous and prejudicial to the interest of revenue. Yeah, similar. But now it is in the law. 148 can be done. Now, what do you do? Now, at this stage, now what you do is now the assessing officer becomes your friend. Now you have to argue the other way around. You have to say, no, the assessment order is correct. You are wrong. Now you have to prove that the assessment order is in accordance with law. Because there is a view and a possible view taken by the officer. Same like 263.
This allowance was made for investment in the partnership firm because their share property is external section 10(2)(a). And while calculating the average investment, the AO took only my fixed capital and not the current account. That is what we have given, and assessing was accepted. There was an audit objection and the case was zero, but we filed a writ against it. Because there's a change.
Yeah. It is an audit objection.
It was accepted by you that only the investment is in the capital only, not in the current account.
Because it's in accordance with law.
With the law.
So I had this one case where it was an importing company. It's an MNC. So they were treating some purchases as bogus purchases. We applied the 12.5 का जो चलता है 12.5% bogus purchases, and it was allowed. 12.5 का addition हुआ. We are in CIT appeal. Now the audit objection comes and not 12.5 100%. So then now we have to argue, keeping Bombay High Court stating that no, 12.5 is the view of the Bombay High Court. He has taken the view. So now in such stages, although I'm in appeal against 12.5, but the view taken by the officer is correct. So now the officer's order, assessment order, is something which you have to support to the extent of 12.5. You are agreeable on merits, you are in appeal, but the view taken by him is correct, 12.5. So when audit objection happens, please don't go and say like, oh, chartered accountant had called us and said that change of opinion, now you file a writ petition and ask for cost. Cost is discretionary, we cannot ask for cost, and don't expect us to do such things because it is obvious a change of opinion. अभी change हो गया है.
What I'm saying is that it is done mechanically. That's on the basis of investigation report. You have not done any investigation thereafter. And either showing you one of it means how inquiries is conducted, then also you take an addition. Whether the addition can sustain because there is a judgment. Ashok Kumar and most at least there is some investigation.
12.5 का तो बहुत judgment है. But if you feel the case is not good, in today what Bombay High Court has happened after that Impex. Kanak Impex. First take 12.5 and go home. बचेगा नहीं. For years to come now, Bombay High Court that 100% will stress.
Case where the sales have been booked to
He will hit the bench.
The sales have been booked. There is an export sale. In that case, something can happen.
See, if there is any report, I'm telling you, see, now what has happened is there is a change in ideologies. The thing is that if there is a report which anywhere they're stating words like hawala, words like accommodation, or 69C lag gaya hai, if you are at 12.5, boss, I would say विवाद से विश्वास अगर चल रहा है तो 12.5 पे settle करके बंद कर दो. Because there they have enhanced High Court. So you can also get an enhancement. So it's not worth. 69C is not worth in where we are standing right now today as I speak. Tomorrow if the judge changes, now Justice Kolabawala is heading from this month onwards. Yeah, he's going to indirect tax. So unless there's a change, but today as we stand, settle. If Vivad se Vishwas is there, close the chapter.
It's not a competitive available in grey market. All these cases happen because this company available in the grey market, that's the 7.5%.
Is there any Hawala report against you?
No, not against me.
No, but who you dealt with, there's a Hawala report. अगर word Hawala assessment order में है, then I'm not suggesting at all.
Cancel हो गया था, तो उसके ऊपर तो जिसका first case था.
It's on the facts of the case, but not taking any risk. But 12.5 is a great amount actually to settle the issue. Consequence of any information received under DGAA, please ask for a copy of the information. I had a client, he was into horse betting or something and he had to buy a house in Australia for his son. So he sent monies through Hong Kong and everything. Son was caught in Australia. ऑस्ट्रेलिया में तो पंगा कोई लेता नहीं है, वो इमीडिएटली बोल दिया कि भाई मेरे पापा ने हवाला करके पैसा भेजा. That affidavit, that information was sent from Australia to here. and proceedings were started against my client. However, we time and again asked for the copy of the Australian authorities, which they did not give us. Finally, in the tribunal, we succeeded only on that basis. That information has not been given to us. So you can always ask for it. Consequence of any order of court or tribunal, the issue is that whether it's qua SSC or qua general, like 69C का issue है, सबका खुलेगा कि सिर्फ मेरा खुलेगा? That is an open thing. Survey under 133A, this is a good plug-in amendment. Last 4 years, 22, 23, 24, 25, 4 years, I've been going around study circle lectures asking people why survey is in the deemed information definition but treated as information. मतलब survey को deemed information के definition में डाला गया था, मगर आपको 140A आता था. क्यों मेरे साथ time pass कर रहे हो? If you have deemed information that income has escaped assessment, then why are you making me go through 140A? It was always a question I asked at every study circle. I didn't have an answer, nobody had an answer. Finally, better senses prevailed. They have put survey in information. Fair, no? You put it in information and give me 148A. This has been plugged in. Now we come to 149. We're running out of time. All the provisions which you see have been removed are basically pertaining to search and search cases. Up to 3 years from the end of the relevant year, that's okay. Beyond 3 years and end of the relevant year, the condition is of 50 lakhs. 50 lakhs के नीचे तो नहीं कर सकता. There are 2 Bombay High Court, there is 1 Rajasthan High Court. Understanding the 5th and 6th proviso not necessary anymore. 5th or 6th proviso पहले ये कहता था कि the time between the response and passing of the order gets excluded. It's an interesting concept, confusing for everybody. They have knocked it off. अभी 3 महीना है, सबके पास 3 महीना है. Income has to be seen, not the value of transaction. Sanatan Kumar Murali. What happens is a lot of the times in Bombay, you will get a notice stating that 55 lakhs is escaped assessment, especially in cases where your pagdi has gone into redevelopment and नया building आया है, or you are going to redevelopment और नया registration हो गया है, stamp duty value पे, stamp duty value 85 lakhs, consideration paid 0, 148 लगा देता. Now what this judgment says is that when you say income has escaped assessment, it is not transaction value. It is not the whole stamp duty value. You find out the income. What is income? Capital gain here. You compute the capital gain and then you say this is what has escaped income. Capital gain is below 50 lakhs gain. Just because that house or the stamp duty value of the house is 85 lakhs, consideration paid is 0, it doesn't sustain.
I think the decision of Nimir Mehta and Supreme Court is also on the same line.
Nimir Mehta.
Nimir Mehta, yes.
No, that's not in the Supreme Court. That's
FFP.
yeah, same lines. So when you say income that has escaped assessment, it's always the capital gain, not transaction value. Removal of aggregation of escaped income. ये 21 से 24 तक statute में था, ना मैंने देखा ना किसी और ने देखा. What this said was that if you have receiving notice for 3 years, 21, 22, 23, for reaching the threshold of 50 lakhs, they could actually aggregate all 3 years. अगर समझो आपने इस साल 50 लाख का accommodation entry लिया, इस साल 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs, they could have done that. I only came to know about this when I was writing the book or the commentary. So that's when I realized there was a provision of aggregation allowed, which now is removed. Next is that there is one more condition. Beyond 50 lakhs, the income should be in the form of an asset, expenditure, or entry. Entry in the books, correct. So in Hexaware Technologies, where the issue was of 80 JJAA disallowance. Is that an asset? Is that an expenditure or is that any entry? That is something you need to note. And similarly, in Ashok Commercial also, it was disallowance of bad debt. That also does not fall in the definition of asset, expenditure. And asset is also defined. And one beautiful thing I'll tell you, asset is defined, but asset does not include cash. So I don't know what happens to on money. Whether on money will be treated as an entry, because if they don't treat it as an entry and consider it as an asset, the asset definition explicitly is mentioned over there. Asset definition does not include cash. So if they have to consider it as an entry in the books of accounts only. Now is sanctioned. 149 के बाद no. 1 second. Okay. Sanction. There used to be two sanction, lower authority, higher authority, all that is scrapped off. Now there is only one authority, I think AC and JC. Okay, which is actually wrong. In 21, when they came out with the new law, the government actually proudly said we have high authorities like PCIT and PCCIT to look into the file, and only worthy cases will be picked up for scrutiny, and we will not harass the taxpayers. Now they have not even a PCIT, it's basically AC and JC who's going to do it. So that concept is knocked off. If there is no sanction, the reassessment is bad in law. Unsigned sanction. अगर आप 151 लोगे इस साल के पहले के 151 उसके नीचे डिजिटल साइन नहीं रहेगा. Never. There is no digital sign at all. They just issue the 151 with a nice column putting everything inside. So there is a decision of the Allahabad High Court in Vikas Gupta. It's a very good decision if you read the decision, which says that it's a ministerial act. It has to be either digitally or manually signed. अगर नहीं किया तो it is bad in law. There is another decision of Chhattisgarh High Court जिसमें लिखा है if your 151 doesn't have a sign, it's okay. It has a DIN, which means it's generated through the computer of the sanctioning authority, so it's valid. Now in Bombay, what do? There is no Bombay High Court decision. But there are two contrary decisions of non-jurisdictional High Court. First point is Allahabad High Court is a division bench. Chhattisgarh High Court is a single bench. Second point is Allahabad High Court is a subsequent decision. Chhattisgarh High Court is a earlier decision. Third point is if you apply Supreme Court vegetable products, when there are two decisions of non-jurisdictional High Court, the one favoring the SSC should be taken. So Bombay still argue keeping Vikas Gupta. Sanctioning by wrong authority out of question. Sanctioning by superior instead of lower authority is also out of question now. Now Jao versus Fao, 151A. They came out with a reassessment, faceless reassessment scheme under 151A, which said that it has to be issued through an automated system. Jo hua nahi. First decision was that Kankala, Reddy, Telangana High Court in favor of the SSC. Then Calcutta came a single bench decision in Triton Overseas, where they relied on some finance ministry ka memorandum, OM, office memorandum, not a circular, not an instruction. It went against the SSC. Hexaware then came considering Triton, considering finance ministry's memorandum and held it in favor of SSC. After Hexaware was followed by Guwahati High Court, followed by Punjab and Haryana High Court. Till that, it was in favor. Then TKS Builders, Delhi High Court went against the SSC. Huge decision. It was actually argued by my former senior in Delhi. And then came Mark Studios' single bench decision again by the Madras High Court against the SSC. Mark Studio has gone an appeal to division bench and Mark Studio has been stayed. Right now, if you see, Calcutta is distinguished. TKS is the only thing that actually stands against the SSC. And there's a recent decision of Rajasthan High Court in naam kya tha? There's a recent decision of Rajasthan High Court considering everything in favor of the SSC. Following it's in Supreme Court, yeah.
So one of the Bombay SSC may now issued the notice. What is the
Point लेके रखो.
please appropriate
Assessment proceedings, this thing, submission. Nobody is passing an order. Even if you tell IT80 also today, if I go tell boss Hexaware, they will give you a nice 3 months adjournment. There's a Rajasthan High Court. I can't recollect the name. It's not in the book. That's why it's not here. The name. Okay, so that considers everything, and now it's in favor of SSC. So let's see what happens. Now, Hexaware and this 151A took several evolutions. Whether what happens to 148 AB and AD. So there's a decision of Kairos Properties, Bombay High Court. No, not just 148, AB, AD sab udta hai. Sab ko uda do. Then what happens to central charge and international charge? That again Bombay High Court came in favor in capital G for international. McLeod Pharma is again represented by me, which came that central circle ko bhi uda do. Because the fundamental was that on 13th August 2020, when our Prime Minister came on television and said, now faceless scheme, that day CBDT also issued an order under 119, where CBDT said, keep two things outside faceless, central and international, central and international. Now there they said faceless assessment se nikal ke rakho. When we had the faceless reassessment scheme 151A ka, that time they did not issue such an order under 119. That is the whole fundamental thing. अगर assessment के time में आपने carve out निकाला तो reassessment के time पे भी carve out निकालो. That is the whole argument why Bombay High Court they have succeeded. Now, if you have to argue in favor of revenue, the definition of assessment includes reassessment. तो वो उतना सुप्रीम कोर्ट में बोल देगा तो ये इतना तो उड़ जाएगा. But yeah, fair. So Talati and Talati, I think it's a CA form. I'm not sure. In Gujarat High Court has gone against SSC. Central charge is outside faceless purview. This is miscellaneous. We can skip everything. Never be useful. One thing in 152, 3 and 4. There is this beautiful section in the corner of the statute which nobody has read. Even I only read because I was writing the commentary. Is that for all search cases, all search which has happened prior to September 1, 2024, the law prevailing before September 1, 2024 will continue to exist. My clients are still getting reassessment notices for assessment year 14-15. Abhi bhi mila hai. So what happened is one of my clients got raided. Appraisal report आया 300 करोड़ का. Somebody gave an opinion stating that hey, 1 September के बाद सिर्फ 5 साल है, 10 साल नहीं है. तो वो भी खुश हो गया. 300 करोड़ का appraisal report के बदले में 150 करोड़ का appraisal report बनेगा. But they did not check that there is a saving grace provision. Full 10 years is allowed. This March 14-15 का notice भी आया है. We have challenged in writ petition and it is not time barring. 14-15 reassessment notice is within time. The only problem is I don't understand why they put it in 152.3. Like nobody is opening that section and reading. It has got no connection with 142.1 and 151.2. Might as well have put it in 149. We could have at least identified it. Okay, now return is filed, everything is done. We enter into reassessment proceedings. If they don't issue a 143.2, Blue Moon comes into play. 143.2 के बिना order भी pass नहीं कर सकता. It is in favor of the SSC. Same has been upheld in Ashok Commercial also. If you ever reply on email to an officer stating that, hey, kindly consider my earlier return as return filed in compliance and not file the actual return, it is considered valid compliance. But the problem is the system doesn't catch. But as per Madras High Court decision, it is a valid compliance, if you consider. Then there is an SOP of August 3, 2022 for assessing officer. A lot of people have not checked this. It states how assessment should be done. अगर आपको 142.1 का notice आता है, it is mandatory to give you 14 days time to reply. Nobody gives. Because they give you a questionnaire with 30 things there. 7 days, exactly. They cannot do that. It's written in the SOP at clause D.2.1. It used to be invalid if Justice Sriram was on the bench. So similarly at endpoint 1.3, we have also contested this. Show cause notice for 7 days dena zaruri hai. It is mentioned in the SOP. And several courts have upheld it. Karnataka High Court, Delhi High Court, Gujarat High Court. Now recently there's a decision of the Bombay High Court. Now this judge, the earlier judge, where it's you can read the decision. You must have read it also. Must have come in the WhatsApp groups also. It is Anand Kumar Rathod, Bombay High Court. There were 3 counts of natural justice violation. Show cause notice में 8 crore बोला, assessment order में 12 crore जोड़ा. Second is that 7 days was not given. Third is that they asked for video conferencing, not given. Bombay High Court said, no, what is your problem? Go in appeal. 3 counts of natural justice violation. So there is armor now with the department as well. Now coming in your reassessment proceedings, you are allowed to ask for cross-examination. Andaman Timber most celebrated judgment. Kishan Singh Chalaram qua income tax. अगर आपको GST indirect tax का judgment पर rely नहीं करना है. There's a case of Nathuram Premchand. Why I pointed it out? It's an Allahabad decision wherein it is held that it is the duty of the income tax officer to enforce the attendance of the witness if he wants to rely on the statement. It is not my duty to get the witness. You are relying on the statement, तू ही लेके आजा भाई उसको. मेरा काम नहीं है. I can ask for cross examination, you have to bring him. Yeah, summons, and it is his duty if he wants to reply. Yes. And the same has been upheld by Allahabad High Court as well. It is under powers under 131 of the earlier rules read with order 15 rule 10 of CPC. Adhering to SOPs, the basic fundamental, her SOP, anything issued by CBDT officer should rely. Reassessment order against adjournment letter. This also happens. आप adjournment के लिए डालते हैं show cause notice के against आप सीधा order pass कर देता है. Bombay High Court is there in your favor. Best judgment assessment is not possible until they issue a specific show cause notice stating that they are going to go ahead with best judgment assessment. So they have to tell you, look, you're not replying, then now I'm going with best judgment. वो बोलना बहुत जरूरी है. There's one thing I forgot. Okay, this is not in the PPT. When you receive your 148A notice and you are replying to it, please ask for personal hearing. It is not that the PPT is, but you have to, it is your right, it is there in the CBDT, this thing also, guidelines. Please, because that gives you a saving grace. Coming back, now Finance Act 2024 has given power of remand to CIT appeal. आज तक power to call for remand report था, मगर अभी power of remand है उसके पास. So if you give nice submissions against a best judgment order, you prepare good submissions with good case law, वो सीधा remand कर देगा. उसको करना नहीं, उसको disposal चाहिए, remand हो जाता है. So a lot of cases now, if ex parte orders, you do rule 46A and you file additional evidence, you call for remand report and look into it, etc. Like how ITIT remands ex parte orders, even the CIT is now empowered to do remand. Time limit for completion of reassessment, 12 months from the end of the year in which 148 is issued. With this is the new income tax bill. If you want to know, there is a new concept of approving panel which they have brought in. This we can discuss once the bill becomes the act. Actually, I'd like to open the floor for questions. It's more or less the same in the coming years also, in 25 Act also. They have widened deeming provisions. If the GAR panel thinks it's a fit case, it's a direct 148. Apart from that, everything remains the same. If you read the new Income Tax Act 2025, it says 4 years and 6 years. Okay, instead of 3 years and 5 years. Somebody once came and told me, look, पहले भी 4-6 था, फिर उसको 3-10 किया, फिर 3-5 किया, फिर वापस से 4-6 पे गया. That is not true. We don't have assessment year anymore. We have tax year. So 4 and 6 is basically 3 and 5 only. So 3 and 5 only continues. It's called 4 and 6 quad tax year. With this, I would like to conclude. The floor is open for questions. Any question, how many other questions I am willing to answer.
One officer in a building, but that this officer at the Manta.
Why officer at Air India building has issued?
Yeah, it's a fire interview.
Well, it is a non-resident. 2 officers cannot do it. Yeah. The office, in that year of issuance of notice, whether he was non-resident or not. That year. Then you should contest Nimir Kishore Mehta, Bombay High Court decision. But you have to take this within 30 days. All responses should be taken within 30 days. Please. Which one? 7 days चला गया अभी. 2 years back. तो 12 o'clock रात तक कर सकता है. Then you have to either you can email him. Done. Beg your pardon? Then you can challenge in the further proceedings. Any other questions? And conclude.
Thank you, Shashi Bekal. I request Bharat to give hearty vote of thanks.
It was my eminent pleasure to give the vote of thanks on behalf of JB Nagar CP Study Circle to Advocate Shashi ji. He has been explained all the relevant cases, issues in assessment and reassessment with many cases. And I uh, 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 acknowledge that with a loud applause from all the participants. Thank you.